Chapter 21 to 22. This was the Kingdom of Shadow. The place was shrouded in darkness and gloom, the shadows almost palpable in the oppressive and suffocating atmosphere. Despite the eerie ambience, it was also alluring and mysterious. However, Shirou was not interested in exploring this mystery at the moment. He had been beaten and bruised, and had died 21 times. He lay on the ground, feeling like a dead fish, and had no desire to get up. The woman who had inexplicably invaded his dream and killed him 21 times was now squatting next to him, tickling his nose with a flower. "Achoo," Shirou sneezed. "Looks like you've recovered," the woman said in a gentle tone, throwing the flower away and standing up. "Let's get up and continue." However, this gentle tone sounded like a devil to Shirou. "What a joke," he exclaimed. "I haven't recovered yet. I don't want to get up." Shirou grabbed the grass on the ground with both hands and refused to get up, no matter what. If he got up, he would definitely be tortured by this woman again. "I've never taught such a disobedient disciple before." The woman laughed softly, showing no sign of anger, and spoke in a gentle tone, like an older sister next door. "I never said I wanted to be your disciple." Shirou looked up at the woman's beautiful face and couldn't help but smile wryly. The woman stood before Shirou, her striking figure commanding attention. Her straight waist-length purple hair flowed like a waterfall of lavender, cascading down her curvaceous body, which was accentuated by her revealing purple-black leather armor. In her hands, she held two bright red short spears, their pointed tips glinting menacingly. But it was her eyes that truly captivated Shirou, a pair of striking red orbs that seemed to pierce into his very soul. Shirou wryly thought to himself that this woman must be the mistress of the land of shadows in Celtic mythology, Scathach, a woman who had lived from the time of the gods until now. But how could this woman appear in the real world? Why did she suddenly appear in his dream? And to top it off, she started talking about teaching him and then proceeded to violently attack and kill him 21 times. Fortunately, it was just a dream, or else he would have really died. "How did you enter my dream, Shishu?" Shirou asked, his frustration palpable. He had hoped to leave Fujuki City in just 2 days and escape the Fourth Holy Grail War. And he had even managed to change Sakura's fate, while preserving his own life. He should have been able to sleep soundly, shouldn't he? But instead, this woman had entered his dream and beaten him up for no reason. "Shishu, is that how people in your time address their mentor?" Scathach blinked in surprise before smiling gently. "But I don't mind it. No, that was just pure terminology." Shirou knew that this was all wrong. Scathach was clearly a violent person in disguise as a beautiful girl. How else could she have so easily killed a cute 6-year-old boy 21 times? "Entering your dream is quite simple." Scathach laughed charmingly, her voice gentle and soothing, like a breeze. "It's a type of magic you're not familiar with. If you're well rested, then rise and continue training with me," Scathach urged. Shirou had a bitter expression on his face. "I'm just a child. Please let me go." "Fighting has nothing to do with age," Scathach laughed. "But I'm just a small bird, Shishu. It's better for you to find other experts," Shirou said bitterly. The feeling of being killed again and again was a great punishment for Shirou, who just wanted to survive. "That won't do. I've already made a promise to someone else. Breaking a promise is not my habit. Most importantly, I really want to personally educate this unique being that I've never seen before," Scathach said with a slightly strange smile. The excited light that flashed in her gentle, red eyes made Shirou feel afraid, especially when she mentioned education. But Shirou noticed one thing. "You made a promise to someone else. Someone asked you to enter my dream?" he asked, staring at Skathik. Yes, Skathik nodded. Who? Shirou asked, wanting to know which jerk had called Skathik to ruin his good dream. It was strange, after all. Anyone who could ask Skathik to do something must also be a mythical killer. And in this era, those mythical killers were either taken away by Gaia and Alaya as black workers or hidden in the inner world. The only ones who could manifest were the 7 servants summoned through the Holy Grail. Who could ask the immortal Skathik to do such a thing? Most importantly, Shirou shouldn't know anyone who could do such a thing. Skathik thought for a moment before giving her own evaluation of the person. He's a completely self-centered, quite foul-mouthed guy. As long as it makes him happy, he would probably even do something as terrible as destroying humanity. However, I don't hate him, she said. Why does this description sound so familiar? Master, do you know about the Fourth Holy Grail War that occurred in Fuyuki City? Shirou inquired cautiously. Is the person I'm thinking of a self-centered, foul-mouthed individual, a participant in this war? Yes, Skathik replied with a light smile. Shirou made a bitter face. It really is, Mr. Gold. But how did Mr. Gold become a good citizen? Before he helped Sakura with her problem, now he pulled Skathik into the dream to teach him. Your origin is a sword, and he was originally looking for someone who wields a sword, Skathik explained, raising the spear in her hand. However, he has poor social skills and doesn't know many people, so naturally, no one was willing to listen to him. Now, get up or I'll attack. Wait. I have one more question, Shirou interjected. What do you mean when you say I have a special body? Is there some hidden power within me? A special power? Skathik hesitated, a rare look of troubled thought crossing her face. I'm not sure how to explain it. I've never encountered someone like you with this kind of unusual body, so I can't provide a detailed description. What do you mean? Shirou asked, focusing intently. All transmigrators have some kind of golden finger, right? Could it be that he has some kind of golden finger too, but just hasn't noticed it yet? It's really hard to describe this sudden and contradictory sensation, Skathik said, trying to find the right words. It's like a reader of a hero's biography entering the hero's story. At first, you're just an average person, barely worthy of a supporting role or even a name because of the hero. But then, you feel a sudden desire to compete for the role of hero yourself. What? Shirou asked, taken aback by Skathik's confusing explanation. To put it simply, Skathik began, taking a moment to think. It's like the feeling of an audience member who is watching someone else's story, shedding their own tears, but then suddenly barging onto the stage of the story themselves. Shirou's heart skipped a beat. Could this deep meaning reveal that he was a transmigrator? A spectator who should be sitting in the audience, suddenly barging onto the hero's stage. I wonder what kind of performance that would be. That might also be one of the reasons why he is so interested in you. But as for me, I initially came because he asked me, and it was hard to refuse. Now, I simply want to see what path he will take, Skathik said with a smile. Is this explanation satisfactory? Your explanation is satisfactory, but even if I am just a spectator who has barged onto the hero's stage, I have no intention of performing in this hero's drama. Before Shirou could finish speaking, Skathik bent down and placed her index finger over his mouth, smiling. Once you're on stage, it's not so easy to get off. Plus, you've been targeted by that very troublesome individual. And if you try to leave the stage before giving a satisfying conclusion that pleases him, you'll probably be chased all over the world by him when he gets angry. Leaving one city or even one country is just the beginning of the chase. You have to think carefully, because that guy is extremely willful and stubborn. Shirou stammered, understanding what Skathik was saying. She was talking about using the opportunity to leave for Yuki City and escape the Fourth Holy Grail War. The most likely outcome is probably that he catches up to you and kills you on the way, Skathik said with a smile, stating the cruel reality. An unworthy person like me has been targeted by the king. Shirou wore a bitter smile. He is just such a self-centered individual. So, do you understand your current situation? Skathik asked with a smile. I understand completely, Shirou nodded. Skathik slightly smiled and clenched the 2 spears in her hands. So, Shirou hugged Skathik's leg and looked up at her pleadingly. Dear Skathik Neeson, please be my servant. With a pain-filled cry, Shirou was kicked out of the dream. Skathik, who acted like a big sister to him, didn't get angry when he made the rude request. Instead, she simply smiled and refused. In her words, you really are a pitiable child. But even though I really want to help you, unfortunately, I cannot manifest in the physical world. And then, under the pretext of training, Skathik subjected Shirou to a brutal beating, hammering his body until it was as tough as iron. In total, she killed him 41 times before finally, just as dawn was breaking, she kicked him out with a swift kick to the butt. Violence. It was a truly violent experience. Shirou really wants to cry. Despite her gentle exterior, Skathik's true nature was that of a terrifying demon of violence. But that's not even the worst part. The thing that truly made Shirou's head throb was the realization that he was being watched by that tax thief maniac. No wonder that guy was so willing to provide information to Shirou and come to his aid when he was about to be killed by Spartacus. It was because Shirou had become the object of amusement for Mr. Gold. Could this be the result of his luck, which was almost as good as Lance's E? Shirou couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Big brother, did I keep you from getting a good night's sleep last night? Sakura asked guiltily. She had held on to Shirou throughout the night and thought that might be the reason for his lack of rest. No, Sakura, you're worrying too much. Let's get out of bed, wash up, brush our teeth, and have breakfast, Shirou said, pulling back the blankets. Okay, Sakura nodded. After they washed up, Shirou and Sakura went downstairs to find that Mrs. Fujimaru had already prepared breakfast, which included a poached egg and milk. We are not having sandwiches today? Shirou asked curiously. I watched a health program last night, and the experts said it's not good to eat greasy food in the morning. Mrs. Fujimaru said with a smile, clearly pleased that she had gained some new health knowledge. Shirou knew that his mum liked to watch those domestic care programs on a daily basis. In an effort to be a competent housewife, this tough and detail-oriented mother was also working very hard. Oh, right, Shirou. Your dad said he'll be off work in 2 days. Do you have any place you'd like to go and play? Mrs. Fujimura asked. No, Shirou shook his head. What about you, Sakura? Do you have any place you'd like to go? Mrs. Fujimura asked, turning to Sakura. No, Aunt Cheo, Sakura answered politely. Oh dear, that's a problem. Where should our family go on vacation? Abroad is too expensive, and going to a nearby city doesn't have the feeling of novelty, Mrs. Fujimura said, looking a bit troubled. It seemed that she, being lively and energetic, wanted to go out and play. It was a reminder that even as adults, the desire to have fun and relax is still present. It's just that, Shirou laughed bitterly. Originally, he had planned a family vacation to avoid the Fourth Holy Grail War, but because of Mr. Gold, he had to put it on hold. At the very least, He can't go out with the Fujimaru family, otherwise, as his mentor said, that extremely self-centered Chunibyo will surely bomb the transportation vehicle they're riding in. Reality can be really funny. Originally, he just wanted to be an ordinary, wealthy man, but in the end, he was still dragged into the War of Magi. He had wanted to avoid the Fourth Holy Grail War, but in the end, he was drawn in deeper and deeper, until now, when there's no way to avoid it. However, things also have two sides. If that Chunibyo hadn't seen Shirou as an object of amusement, Shirou might have already died at Spartacus's hands. And now, Shirou has to consider how to face this Holy Grail War. Fujimaru Narita hung up the phone with a tired expression and leaned back in his chair. He glanced at the photo frame on the table, which contained a picture of him and his family. Fujimaru picked up the frame and looked at it for a moment before smiling and setting it back down. Keep up the hard work, he encouraged himself as he stood up and stretched. He then retrieved some real estate documents from his desk drawer. Just then, a colleague called out, "Narita, someone is looking for you." "Looking for me?" Fujimaru wondered. "Who is it?" Narita trailed behind his colleague, curious as to who could be seeking him out. When he laid eyes on the man, he was taken aback by his appearance. The man was decked out in a luxurious red suit and carried a staff adorned with sparkling jewels, exuding an air of Western aristocracy. His neatly groomed beard and poised demeanor only added to the image of an elegant gentleman. Narita couldn't shake the feeling of unease as he wondered what a person of such high standing could possibly want with him, a small-time real estate agent. He cautiously approached the man and inquired, "Excuse me, may I ask who you are?" "Hello, Mr. Fujimaru. My name is Tosaka Tokiomi, and I am Sakura's biological father," the man said with a smile. He glanced at Narita's hands and noticed that he had no charms on them. Narita's heart skipped a beat at the mention of Sakura. "Excuse me, Mr. Tosaka, but may I ask what brings you to me?" "I heard that my daughter Sakura has been staying with you." "Mr. Fujimaru, that must be quite a burden for you," Tokiomi said with a graceful smile. Sakura had a charm from him that made it easy for him to locate her, and he had learned last night that Sakura had been brought home by Shirou. "Oh no, it's no burden at all, Mr. Tosaka. You're too kind," Narita said, waving his hands and adopting a humble posture. As a small-time salaryman, he knew he was no match for someone as influential as Tosaka in the city of Fuyuki. "I also heard that you and your family were planning a trip. Is that correct?" Tokiomi asked. "Yes, Mr. Tosaka. You have excellent information. But please rest assured, we have no intention of taking Sakura with us. In fact, I tried to bring her back to your house yesterday, but it was already late. And as you know, Fuyuki hasn't been very peaceful lately," Narita said. In his view, Tosaka had come to reclaim Sakura. "No, Mr. Fujimaru, you seem to have misunderstood. The reason I came here was to ask you to take Sakura on your trip," Tokiomi said. Fujimaru Narita was momentarily confused. Tokiomi gave a slight smile. After the confrontation with the Matu family last night, Tokiomi had come to understand the Matu family's situation and why Sakura was so rebellious. Unfortunately, the Holy Grail War has already started, making it difficult for Tokiomi to send Sakura to Finland at this time. Instead, he decides it would be best to have the Fujimaru family take Sakura on a trip to avoid the conflict of the war. "Here is a token of my sincerity. I hope you will accept it, Mr. Fujimaru," Tokiomi said as he handed Fujimaru Narita a stack of bills. "Oh, this is too much, Mr. Tosaka," Fujimaru Narita exclaimed, flustered. "Please, there's no need to be so formal. My only wish is for my daughter to have a happy trip." Tokiyomi replied with an elegant smile. In addition, there is one more thing I would like to ask, Mr. Fujimaru, Tokiyomi said, his expression becoming somewhat serious. Yes, Mr. Tosaka, what is it? Fujimaru, Narita inquired. As he spoke, Tokiyomi's eyes lit up slightly, and he used suggestion on Fujimaru Narita. Raising his arm, he revealed the seals on his skin and asked, "Is there anyone in your family with this mark?" "Yes," Fujimaru Narita answered with a dazed expression. "Who?" Tokiyomi pressed for an answer. "My 6-year-old son," Fujimaru Narita answered mechanically. "So that's how it is." Tokiyomi nodded to himself, deep in thought. Could it be that there really is a problem with the Holy Grail, for a child to become a master? Well, this is one less opponent to worry about. But was the person in the black cloak last night that child's servant? The aura is somewhat different from a normal servant. As he came to this conclusion, Tokiyomi lifted the suggestion and said to Fujimaru Narita, who had returned to normal in that case, "I entrust my daughter to you, Mr. Fujimaru. In exchange, I will also take good care of your son." "Ah, is that so? Thank you, Mr. Tosaka. There is one more thing. Please don't tell my daughter about this." "Understood, Mr. Fujimaru Narita, unaware of the manipulation, was overjoyed at the prospect. From a normal, ordinary person's perspective, this could be seen as the Fujimaru and Tosaka families forming a relationship, which would certainly be beneficial for their future prospects. However, it is unfortunate that this is the thinking of a normal, ordinary person rather than the truth of the situation. To a magus, the way of thinking of a normal, ordinary person is abnormal, and to a normal, ordinary person, the way of thinking of a magus is also abnormal. Fujimaru Narita would definitely not think that the care mentioned by Tokiyomi was not the care he thought it was, but rather